Hi, this is the book summary assignment, and the book that I've chosen is The Art of Intrusion by Kevin Mitnick, published in the year 2005. So, what is this book about? The book is basically about the experiences shared by the author Kevin Mitnick, who is himself a well known hacker. In this book, he gives the accounts of different hackers that he knows who know how to get past the security barriers of a computer system. The book describes how these hacks or security breaches can be used for devastating effects for certain companies, or in some cases, how they can be used to help the companies tighten their computer security. The book starts off with Hacking the Casino, which describes how four computer enthusiasts thought of hacking into a casino as part of a challenge. The slot machines, the cards in the slot machines dealt were based on a random number generator sequence, which these four thought could be compromised. The 32-bit random number generator was not a random number generator per se, but a pseudo one, wherein the random number generators were basically a part of a warehouse, one node number stored at random after the other. So if a particular number did come up, then a number to be dealt after that would be the same, no matter when the said number came up. So all that the four individuals had to do was reprogram the slot machine and to make sure that they introduced a program of their own, with after which they could guess which were the cards to be dealt for a full or a royal flush. Another hack that was mentioned was how terrorists use the internet relay chats back in the early 2000s to recruit some of the youngsters in return for some monetary benefits. It mentions how a particular terrorist asked a particular youngster to get into the systems of Boeing and other aircraft carriers in order to get the details of these carriers. It also describes how the terrorist asked the student to hack into the university website of a popular Chinese university. Now, getting log information for university students was very easy over the IRC by offering a few $100s. Also, information security, especially for a university, was much more lax than what it should have been. Terrorists also use these hacker networks to get in touch with youth who could be willing to compromise national security for a few $100s by asking them to get into defense networks and NASA and other government related networks. Apparently, the specifications about the aircrafts that crashed into WTC towers and the Pentagon were already known to the terrorists. Although the book does not mention that this was necessarily recruited or got or this information was necessarily got from the youngsters over the IRC, but also it gives an indication as to these are the threats or these are the perceived threats. Another story that has been mentioned is the hacking into the White House website. The White House website was also hacked, and also the password file for the server was visible by using a simple improvisation in the URL of the website and the use of the new line character. This is because the developer, while developing the website, might have overlooked the flaws of the PHF, which is known as the form-based interface that accepts a name as an input and looks up name and password info on the server. A script was supposed to sanitize this form of any special characters, but the developer did not keep in mind the new line character 0x0A. The book also says about how people in prisons learned about networking and computer security due to the uh, known dumbness of the security guards, as has been mentioned in the book. Prisons are an excellent source of information, as suggested in the book, because you can, even though it's a prison, you can, if there are some computers lying around, you can use them at your will. Another technique that has been mentioned in the book is called phreaking, which is getting into a telephone network illegally, usually to tap the phone lines. War dialing is also a technique to automatically scan a list of telephone numbers to search for modems, computers, bulletin boards, and fax machines. Using Trojans to steal password file and writing them on the file is also a well-known way to steal sensitive information. One more story that has been mentioned in the book is that of an important information security officer in Boeing known as Don Bowling. So Don Bowling was holding a security seminar for Boeing, which involved top officials from the FBI, the Service, and the who's who of the US administration. At that time, there were two guys who were inside Boeing's network and had installed a crack, which is designed to break the encryption of the password on the system administration after getting past the firewall. So the book describes how this hack was in place when Don Bowling was having the seminar for the FBI officials and how they tracked down these perpetrators. The general consensus from the book is that in order to understand how information systems or IT security is to be implemented, you have to be sure as to how the current security can fail. Misconfigured proxy servers can be the best way to get into the internal networks of different companies or corporates. An improperly configured proxy is the best access point wherein one can tunnel through this configured proxy to the company's supposedly secure internal network. Open proxies could be detected by running a program called Proxy Hunter. Once the browser is reconfigured to use one of these open proxies, then the hacker could serve the internal network of a big company as an employee of the company itself. Allowing the website of a company to be hosted by another ISP and not the company itself is a good practice, as even if the website is then breached, it does not allow direct access to the company's corporate network. Sometimes what people don't realize is that even an email can provide more information than what it is supposed to. For example, in the New York Times case, after generating a query on the help portal of the New York Times website, the attacker got a reply from one of the employees on the internal network, whereas the ISP was someone from outside the New York Times website, which made it difficult to get control of the internal network. Once the attacker got this IP address, it was a matter of patience till he searched some open proxies on the internal network, either closer to the IP address that he became aware of, or searching along the net block around this IP address. The built-in search engine at the New York Times website was not properly configured by the system administrator. In the early days of e-commerce, the network administrators and developers made some common mistakes in designing the website or the product on the predictability of its users. Follow one step after the other and not account for anything out of order. This was the design style. In the early days on an e-commerce website, it was easy to do a fraud. Find what you want to purchase, order it, go through the payment process till your data is verified, back up, and change the billing information. The attacker gets the goods, the charge is on someone else. The exact procedure, however, was not mentioned in the book, obviously due to security issues, so that others don't follow suit. Some of the countermeasures that have been prominently mentioned throughout the book are misconfiguring proxy servers, firewalls, DNS splitting, website source code visibility, and access control to VPN. Splitting up a DNS horizon means that splitting up the DNS into internal DNS to resolve host names on internal network and another DNS server externally that contains records for hosts that are used by the public. Additionally, a default firewall rule to block access to TCP port 53 on any corporate name servers. Another factor that is often discussed in the book is the factor of social engineering. In the early days of network computing, especially for banks, a few vulnerabilities were detected. The source code for a bank used a hidden form element that contained the file name of a form template. The attacker changed the hidden variable to point to the server's password file, and the password file was displayed in the browser. This is obviously during the early days of network computing, back in the early 2000s, but this is how new and improved security procedures were implemented going forward to avoid these kind of hacks. Another thing that is mentioned is that corporate firewalls need to be configured only to essential services as per business needs. Consider using a stateful inspection firewall, which keeps tracks of packets over a period of time. Incoming packets are only permitted in response to an outgoing connection. Implement a rule to control outgoing network connections. Control access to the VPN based on the client's IP address applicable where a limited number of personnel connect to the corporate network using the VPN. Another method commonly applied by the hackers when hacking a network was using the Unix flavor of the trace route. The best security practice is to ensure that the access points of all systems and devices, obscure or not, be filtered from any untrusted network. One of the main things that are overlooked is all default passwords for any device should be changed prior to the system going into production. These are the most common things that one should be aware of, but are still, however, overlooked. Another factor that is mentioned is the social engineering. So the different factors of social engineering that come into play are known as the trappings of role, wherein the hacker exhibits a few behavioral characteristics of the role he or she is masquerading. We see a man dressed as an executive and assume he's smart, focused, and reliable, forcing the target into a role, which basically means forced into submission by being aggressive. The attacker puts his or her target into the role of a helper. Once the person has accepted the helper role, he or she will usually find it awkward or difficult to back off from helping. Distracting from systematic thinking, momentum of compliance, attribution, liking, and fear are some of the other measures of social engineering commonly applied by the hackers. Countermeasures for this are develop programs to educate employees or people about the social engineering tactics. Develop simple guidelines for employees defining what information the company considers sensitive. Develop procedures to verify identity and authorization. Mainly, develop programs to educate the employees in order to make sure that they are not vulnerable to attacks from social engineering. As a conclusion to book, what I would like to say is that no IT information security or security barrier is such that it cannot be breached. It is in the end up to us, and as the book mentions, it is up to us and to retrospect whether we have implemented enough security procedures in order to be completely secure. Thank you.